Hello and welcome to the Driving Maul show here with you every Monday at 8 p.m. Well, I say that, but it's not true, is it? Let's be honest. The last couple of weeks I have been absolutely swamped with just other stuff like working on the election, etc. And so I've been absolutely knackered. So unfortunately, we have missed a couple. Sorry about that, folks. But we are back now for the quarterfinals knockout rugby, where let's be honest, Steve, this is where it really counts, right?
Oh, come on, the whole thing's counted. It's all been amazing. The whole World Cup's been fantastic. It's been brilliant. It's been a marvel and a spectacle and everything glorious. Now it's just when it gets kind of to the boring part where all the good teams are playing, We don't get the fun of seeing Portugal and Chile anymore. That's the real excitement. Come on.
Well, true. Portugal have been the team of the tournament. Yeah, not the best team, I get that. But compared to their expectations, to me, A+ for Portugal compared to what we were kind of expecting from them coming into this Rugby World Cup. And don't forget, folks, you can head over to patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio, where I graded all of the teams on the pool stage as to how well they'd done compared to expectations. And I kind of, spoiler alert, Portugal came out on top. Controversy there, absolutely. Evening, Simon. Thank you for joining us. In the live chat. Join us in the live chat, folks, on YouTube and Facebook. You can also just watch on Twitter, but you can't do live chat back on Twitter. I do think about putting this onto Cornflake's Twitch stream, but nah, not this time. As well. Plus also, I think all of Steve's fans would be really disappointed by this show because it's not going to go for like 7 hours. I mean, just tell folks what your weekend of watching rugby was like this weekend.
This weekend, Sunday, Monday is pretty much my weekend now because that's when the World Cup's on. But this weekend, yesterday started at about 3:30 in the morning. Got up, preparing to start stream time at about 3:45 for the first game of the first quarterfinal. That stream went to probably about 11 a.m. roughly between the two games. A couple of hours, great scheduling World Rugby. You have 2 hours between the games. 2 hours through there, and then a little bit of post-match, a little bit of a wind down after the excitement, followed by then just lounging around for the day because you're half asleep and doing it again on the next day. So it's good fun, 3:30 and then get about 4 hours sleep and then back at it.
Wow, that's just that's nuts. 7 hours straight. What do you talk about for 2 hours between games? And that is just wild work.
See, the thing is, there's other people involved in the whole process, right? There's lots of conversations, man. It's like Twitch, YouTube, it's going off. There's like chat just goes nuts. You talk about all sorts of stuff. Some stuff's on topic. You're talking about rugby. You're talking about what's happened. You talk about what's coming up. We've dived pretty deep into the fantasy side of things as well with the World Cup game that's been running on the Rugby World Cup website. But yeah, man, when you got, I don't know, between 40 to 100 people, depending on what time of match or what part of the day it is, conversation just blows through, man, on the chat. So you just run with it, chat with people. It's cool. It's kind of like just hanging out and like watching the games with like-minded people that after probably a week you consider them a friend because you know them that sort of well, and you're just hanging out and chatting with friends and talking about rugby and messing about. So it's good fun. There's always something to talk about. No, there's never a dull moment, but it's crazy how you can talk for 7 hours and then still have a voice and then do a podcast after it and then have about 6 hours rest and then you're back doing it again. Just starting it all over again. So it's been a busy day. It's been a really busy day.
And I've got to agree with Christopher. Lots of people in the chat already. I've got to agree with Christopher here. Personally, he thinks the only team that deserves to win the World Cup is the last undefeated team, which is obviously England. So yeah, clearly England odds on now for the Rugby World Cup. Everyone else has been beaten before, so they all know. We know they can be beaten on that one. I can't really read what Simon's saying there. But something about the Rugby World Cup increasing to more teams. I think it is at the next World Cup. We'll see how that kind of works. There's been some mixed reactions, Steve. What are your thoughts on the kind of the scheduling of this Rugby World Cup, where teams had buys each week? Because we've lengthened the pool stage by an extra week, so that basically every team gets about the same sort of rest time. It's not quite perfect, but hey, it's a lot better than it used to be. What do you think about this having these bye weeks where teams sort of sit around and don't do anything?
It depends what perspective you look from. From my perspective, it gives me about 3 days where I can actually recover my voice and speak again.
Oh, yeah, no, not the gaps, but the fact that you come to a weekend and 4 of the teams aren't playing at the weekend that weekend, and it's 2 weeks between. You happy with that? Or
I think the scheduling, it's worked good in some ways and it's bad in others. I think the problem with it is you've got those long delays and you've got a lot of things riding on that last sort of week, and it's kind of delayed the whole process of the pools. But I mean, does it really matter? No, I don't have a problem with it. It's all in the end, everyone sort of plays the same sort of time, the same sort of schedules, and I just think they probably need to schedule a bit more fairly. So we like we talked about last time, we don't have Namibia finishing their 4 games before half the teams have played their 3rd game, sort of story as well. So fair and fair alike, but it allows teams. Like we look at Ireland, and I think it's been their undoing in the detriment to their side. But they've had that capability to play pretty much the same 23, or at least the same 15 throughout the whole tournament. Whether that's been the good part or the bad part, but in terms of quality of rugby and them actually being able to play their best players throughout the whole tournament, it's worked to that advantage. So, in that sort of things, if you want to look at quality of game, it's worked well for them. And in that pool, I think. It's that inexperience of quarterfinals, right, which I guess we'll talk about later, and that their focus of South Africa and Scotland outweighing their focus of quarterfinal number 2, which probably was a bit of their undoing. But hey, all their team went through, no real massive injuries, a couple of wee niggles, but for a team to do that, in the 2011 or 2015 World Cup, that's undoable.
Chris says, let the tier 2 teams have the games spread out and make the tier 1 teams play midweek, and they can the talent handle it. Well, yes. The problem is that the whole reason we had the tier 1 teams play at the weekends is that's where the biggest TV audiences are. So, it wouldn't work for TV audience, but I do like the idea. Isilieli, Fatai, sorry, mate, I'm absolutely butchering your name. It's really is hard. Sorry about that. But he says, how good the whole conversation around the Northern Hemisphere sides. Only one made it through, and it looks like they'll blow out against the Box. Oh, look, let's be blunt here. We'll get on later about how this was the best ever and the closest ever quarterfinals in any Rugby World Cup. But don't mistake yourselves that the next 2 games are a waste of time. We've got 2 blowout wins for New Zealand and South Africa. We might as well. We could do next week's show now, except we wouldn't know which injuries had happened. That's the only thing that's the only unpredictable thing about this coming weekend is injuries, basically, and who gets cards. The result is a foregone conclusion, right? But this was a great weekend. But this idea that the Northern Hemisphere sides are the strong sides. Ireland, France, 1 and 2 in the world. But we also had kind of the uprising of Fiji, of potentially Samoa also getting through. A lot of those storylines, all those kind of exciting storylines, in all honesty, because they're different to previous World Cups, are all pretty much dead now. I mean, the idea that Fiji, we could have had a Fiji Samoa 3rd, 4th playoff at one point. And that was it wasn't a probability, but it was a possibility, and not a totally outlandish one either. But to have now got to essentially New Zealand, South Africa, England, and Argentina as the semi-finalists, it's like, wow, we've seen that once or twice before, haven't we, Steve?
I've been talking about this upcoming weekend a bit already today. The All Blacks kind of I think they got the better of the options out of the 2 of them, right? Because, like you say, they played Argentina so much. We play them every year a number of times. I think we know what we're prepared for. I think the challenge in these games coming up this weekend is for the All Blacks to try and replicate what they've done and keep at that level and prove that it wasn't just an Ireland's completely focused Rugby World Cup for them, that they're actually still moving on from there. I think maybe not going straight into South Africa in a semi-final is probably helping. They have a bit of I don't want to say easier game, but a bit more of a game that they're actually prepared for. In terms
I'll say bloody easy game. These next 2 games are so one-sided. It's unreal.
Wales. What are you talking about? Well, Wales were overwhelming favourites to beat Argentina.
Oh, no, sorry. I meant semi-finals. Semi-finals.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you can't predict on that because they were massive favourites. I mean, let's be honest, England almost lost that game. Wales were massive favourites to win that game. yesterday. Huge favourites. England were that literally was a write-off, that Fiji game for most people against England. The only two quarterfinals anyone really thought was going to be close were obviously the big two. I haven't seen enough upsets. I wouldn't be going into that game with anything but utmost
sorry.
respect for the Argentinians, for sure.
All four of the same quarterfinals were all close and could have gone either way. And I knew that beforehand, that neither England nor Wales came into the Rugby World Cup with the guarantee of even getting out their groups. The fact that there was no way either of those two sides were going to be odds-on favourites or should have been odds-on favourites come a quarter-final. They were lucky to be there. I mean, let's be honest. It was a miracle. It was the coach had done miraculous work to get them there in the first place. To be honest, so no, all four quarterfinals were in the balance heading into the weekend. It's calling Wales overwhelming favourites against Argentina.
Did you watch Argentina play any games of the World Cup? Like, did you watch any full Argentinian match? Because they've been dog awful. They have been awful.
But did you see Wales in the run up to this? You see Wales in Six Nations?
No, that's gone. I'm talking about the last 4 weeks, man. Last 4 weeks, Wales have been the best performing team out of that pool by far. Don't look at pre-World Cup. Wales have outperformed Australia. They've outperformed Fiji. They've outperformed everyone. Argentina have looked garbage. Absolute trash. Complete trash. Look, they struggled to beat everyone in their pool. Their best game was probably like a 30-minute period against Argentina, where they actually looked a little bit like Argentina we know. They were trash against England. Absolute trash. Literally, an NPC team would have beaten them the way that they played against England. And in their easier group games as well, they were terrible. They struggled to score points. Their attack has been dead. Defensively, they've been just uninterested. They look like Argentina that they want to go home. They've looked terrible. Yesterday's game was the first time they've actually looked like they had intent. And Wales is beating all comers. Not touch them.
Argentina and England both got through with penalty goals at the end of the day. And that's how England beat Argentina in the first place. Argentina just going back to how they played in 2007 when they came third in the Rugby World Cup. It just came down to kicks and stuff. They weren't great. They weren't great flowing teams either. Of them. They just defend stoically, kick over your points. A bit old-fashioned kind of style rugby, if you want. But I don't think Wales were. Whilst I expect Wales
83% chance of winning that game. 83% favoured to win that game. England were 85.
On Super Bowl. Yeah, and look, I predicted both Wales and England to win their games. I also predicted that Ireland and France win their games as well. It shows you, I don't know my arse from my elbow. But all of them I thought would be within a score. I didn't think any of these games were going to be blowouts, and that's what we saw in the end with this one. Chris, sort of got some stuff going on in the chat about scheduling and stuff and how they're enjoying this one. So should we actually? Do you want to talk about the game? Actually, I'm going to bring up my graph first. I've done a graph. I've done some preparation, which is kind of like, wow, Paul's actually doesn't work for the change. And so here we have it. I've looked back across across all the Rugby World Cups, all 10 of them, and I've put in the scores. I've put in the winning margins of all the quarterfinals. This is only the second time in history that the average difference between teams across all four games was less than a score. 5.75 was the average winning margin, and that's the lowest winning margin ever. So that's why. So yeah, that's why I reckon this has been the best quarterfinals. And yes, it's come about because of a screwy pools where you had all the 5 best teams in 2 pools, but that has meant that 3 out of the 4 games at the weekend were won by a score. Spoiler alert: anyone who hasn't actually watched them yet, and only 20% of all of the quarterfinals have ever been won by a score or been that close. So normally you get some big blowouts. The biggest one you'll see there it was a 49-point win. That's back in 2015, where New Zealand absolutely thumped France. But every single year, you're seeing. I mean, you're seeing multiple games. Most of the games are won by a comfortable wins at the quarterfinal stage. So fantastic quarterfinals, shitty semi-finals coming up, but that one there for that. Paul, did you adjust for the increase in the number of points for a try? No, I didn't. I didn't adjust for that, but still, you go back to 1991 was a 12 average was 12-point gap, which is 2 scores. 1987 average was an 18-point gap, which would have been 3 scores back in the day. Well, it still is 3 scores. So that didn't really make much difference. I know you haven't seen this before, but anything there that kind of catches your eye and think that's interesting?
I don't remember 2007 that well, but it looked quite like a good World Cup, didn't it? Jeez, I don't remember 2000. I struggled to remember last week at this rate. Oh, yeah, but I mean, it's the closest of the tournament, right? It's how much better the teams have got. And although we give stick to the way that the teams were drawn, it's kind of worked out right that we get similarities through the quarterfinals as opposed to lopsidedness in quarterfinals. So it's worked in the favour of an entertaining tournament, but average point, 20 points, yeah, a lot of big scores. Quarterfinals have kind of been a write-off for a long, long time, haven't they? And I guess when you've had that big gap to teams like, you think Scotland's generally a quarterfinalist team, aren't they? And they've always been, average, but when it comes up against a big side, they're garbage. And I guess that's the thing with the 1v2. Before, you're getting ones are always at the top, and then your Scotland's and Argentina's, all that, they were trash, really trash back then, clear differences. You get that straight away lopsided score, which you're not getting anymore because you're getting, South Africa, Ireland, New Zealand, France, all could be 1 or 2 straight away. So it's definitely evened things up, I think, with the competitiveness of the tournament.
Yeah, South Africa, a Northern Hemisphere team now. No, they're not. They just happen to. They're a Southern Hemisphere team because they play in the Rugby Championship, but they still do. And in reality, when we say Europe, when we say Northern Hemisphere, what we actually mean is 6 nations. We don't actually mean Northern Hemisphere because Japan's in the Northern Hemisphere. So is the USA. So is Canada. We don't consider them to be Northern Hemisphere teams, really. So what we really mean is 6 nations. In all honesty, Chris O'Bay, everyone said England had the easiest group, but in retrospect, wasn't Group C trash? Yes.
Group D is the only team with two teams left. The only pool, with 2 teams left.
Exactly. Best pool, the strongest pool in the tournament. Oh dear!
Twist it for that prerogative, right?
So look, folks, it's weird. The pool, the kind of the way the pools have been done, the tiers of stuff has been talked about to death, and it will be talked about to death as well in the next week because of how lopsided the semi-finals are. But it did mean great quarterfinals for us this weekend. So I just wanted to point that out before we get into the games themselves. So. I know you can't figure out which day it is today, and whether it was yesterday or 2 weeks ago that Wales played Argentina, but a game that's basically Argentina kept themselves in through kicking their points, and Wales lost too many lineouts. Their set piece didn't give them the platform they wanted. They gave up too many penalties. Is it as simple as that? That Wales just couldn't get the set piece working and the discipline?
I think a lot of it has to do with how Argentina played their game as well, because a lot of it was talked about. They've been so patchy this World Cup. I think Wales came out of the gates pretty well, and they did what they've kind of done all tournament. But the second half, they just lost their way. I thought the use of substitutes were probably a bit questionable in that second half as well, which allowed the increase invasion, if you will, of the Pumas to kind of encroach more on the game, and instead of leaving the experience out there to try and fight back or wrestle back the incentive, they kind of made the changes thinking that the fresh legs would do it, but the lack of experience kind of gave the opposite effect for the Welsh. So I think that cost them a little bit, but I think a common trend throughout all of these 4 games is that word of experience. Everything you talk about and all key moments you talk about in these 4 games, those pivotal moments are always coming down to experience, and the team with the experience and the players that have been there or been in situations before. And the first one there, who got that try? A guy that can read the game, a guy that's been around for what feels like forever. I don't know how he's not 300 years ago, 300 years old. But Nicolas Sanchez, reading the play so well and killing that game off right at the end when the Welsh were starting to build up towards the end of the game. So, yeah, kicking goals, something Emiliano Boffelli's not been horrifically fantastic at. He was great yesterday. And just staying in the fight, which is just something they've kind of got flustered by. I noticed watching the games throughout the pool stage, Argentina's kind of forced the issue with kicks to the corner to try and score the tries a lot rather than just accumulate points. It was good to see them actually settle it down and say, well, we can take 3. And we're still not back in the game, but we can slowly build our way back. And they were down, was it 10-0 or 13-0? There was a try and I think a bigger penalty. I think it must have been 10-0. And they just built their way back through penalties to lead 12-10. So normally, and through pool stage, the Pumas were kicking to corner at 10-0, and then stuffing it up, and then bang, you've lost your chance. So it was good to see them actually have the confidence in their abilities and to take the kicks and to build a score rather than try and force the prerogative, which has kind of cost them, I think, throughout the pool stage.
Yeah, I mean, look, 1 minute to half time, or 1.5 minutes to half time, and Wales are 10-0 up, right? And then 2 penalties, 1 a minute before half time, so just enough time for a kickoff, and then play went on for another 2 minutes. They kept the ball in play. Eventually worked another penalty, and suddenly, at 38 minutes, it's 10-0. At half time, it's suddenly 10-6, and suddenly Wales that 2 score lead suddenly is down to just a score lead, and the momentum's against them. Then in the second half, you've got Kieran Dwyer, I think it was, the winger, makes a great break. He's got 1 player on one side, 2 players on the other side, and like 3 defenders, and two defenders in front of him. And he somehow manages to not pass the ball, thinking he can dummy and go all the way himself. Kieran Dwyer not passing that ball, Wales not finishing that move off, and then throwing an intercept, and it's all over. Wales lost this one, I think, rather than Argentina won it by not closing out not finishing the first half, and then Kieran Dwyer not finishing that move, and then throwing an interception. Bang, it's over. They're going home. Look, coming into this Rugby World Cup, it was like, well, look, Australia and Fiji are the favourites to come out of this. Could Georgia even tip over Wales? Could we see Wales have to qualify for the next Rugby World Cup? Now they've actually, you've got to say that Gatland's done a great job with this team to get them here. I say a couple of moments, and they could be in the semi-finals, playing for a 3rd, 4th playoff. And as I say, coming to this, we were kind of they're not getting out their pool. Was kind of the thing about how South Africa thrashed them just before this Rugby World Cup. So I think they've had a great Rugby World Cup from where they were, and just got a bit lucky on the day.
Yeah, after this tournament, I read absolutely nothing into anything pre-World Cup. Absolutely nothing. If it's taught me anything, it's that pre-World Cup, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks for the World Cup, absolutely just wash it away. It means simply nothing. It's fitness, it's warm-up, it's a little bit of preparation, it's learning, in Tonga's case, your teammate's name. It just means very, very little, because I just find teams, it's such a professional sport now, obviously, but it develops in that way that everyone's got that secret game plan. And for teams that obviously don't have a deep run planned, that starts at the group stage. So you're not going to be dishing out your Super World Cup plan pre the game. You're going to be hiding most of it. You're going to be going there. You're going to be learning. You're going to be just getting combinations and things like that. So I really struggle. I think pre-tournament form was just so contrastly different to the tournament. But for Wales, it changes. Taking Dan Biggar off, why? I know, if you had Anscombe on the bench, okay, because Anscombe's a solid enough player, but bringing poor on Sam Costello on it, he's looked all right, but boy, a big pressure cooker moment like that, And your Miles would have just put the ball on the ground and let old Nicholas run away with it, because it was almost the way it popped up for him. You see in the slow-mo replay, it's just he's running, looking at it, he just goes, his eyes just light up. You're like, good God, it's right there. And he's gone. And the old legs, trundled on a good 40 metres. He had to really put the pressure on there. But, yeah, again, key moments, experience or lack of experience costing. But, yeah, I think they got some good talent, though. It was exciting to see Wales. It was exciting to see guys, Reece Samet, really, I think, come on really, really well. Extreme pace. He's really skillful. But, again, lack of experience. Kicked away a lot of half line breaks where we get him behind the initial line and just get a little chip kick. And it just dies. It's cover defence, cleans it up. Whereas if he maybe just tried to hold up play, keep it inside, maybe step back towards his support, keep the ball alive and recycle that, could have been more chances for the Welsh. Just things like that, that they can certainly grow on. But again, you look at Wales, written off completely. Now you look at them and say, there's a bit of a future there. There's a few guys coming through.
Yeah.
They can certainly, in the next 4-year cycle, again, we look at guys like that in there. Jack Morgan, fantastic player. He's going to be a superstar, man. He is phenomenal. There's a number of them for the Welsh. So, yeah, it's that new cycle, and it's that new breed coming through. So it's going to be tough. Six Nations is still going to be very, very tough opponents in there for them. But I think they're sitting in a good stead.
Yeah, I look at it, and with players like Sam Costello, you can see where the future is. Whereas some other teams, like when Johnny Sexton's gone, where the future for Ireland, perhaps looking a little more hazy, rather than I'm not saying necessarily looking bad or what, but just not clear. Whereas I think you can see with the fact that you got Tipperick and Alwyn Jones disappeared pre-Rugby World Cup, you can see what the future is for Wales. They got a head coach in there who knows the system, seems to work well with them. Sure, look, had a few issues at the Chiefs when he came back, and it didn't quite work out for him. Look, initially it was great for him with the Chiefs, and then a lot of the players noticed, hey, he's off to the Lions. He started thinking about the Lions now. Now, if he hadn't had that, maybe he'd still be at the Chiefs, and maybe things would be a bit different. But look, I think it's all looking good and rosy. I think not looking rosy, but things. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel for Wales. You can see where you can see a future. Not so much for Australia, maybe, but for Wales you can, which is good.
Speaking of Australia and kind of on this match, how smug do you think Michael Cheika is right now? Right, he must be just he must be just sitting in his hotel going, "Oh man, I'm amazing. I'm amazing." He must be loving life.
Well, yes, and look, let's be honest. You never like to see your own country lose, so he's not going to be that happy about that. But yeah, you got to say, Cheika, the guy who's supposed to only be good at emotional stuff. Oh no, look, he's a damn good coach. At the end of the day,
mercenary. He's the new day Eddie Jones. That's what he is. In 10 years' time, we're going to be talking. Michael Cheika's going to be doing secret phone calls over Zoom or something with Japanese Union to sneak away from the Wallabies again.
So you don't think you don't like you're not in on the rumor that Eddie Jones is he's going to get replaced by Ian Foster at the Wallabies.
It's going to be a tag team with Foster and Hansen. Hansen's already had a stab, so maybe he liked it. He's going to recruit Fozzie with him as well. And off goes he. That whole rumour thing, going completely off track quickly, I feel sorry and I'm worried about Japan. Because what are they getting here if this does go through with this whole Eddie Jones thing? It's funny and it's still out for Australia and it's like, dumb Wallabies, But I look at it and go, I don't want him near Japan because Japan's in a tentative sort of spot where they could push on and they could fall away, and they need someone who's going to help push them on. I don't know if Eddie Jones is that guy. It just worries me about Japan's future.
I think we'll see Dave Rennie in Japan as the head coach for Japan.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, boy, doesn't Rennie's kind of stock get higher and higher the longer he's away from being, the longer he's not working for for Australia. Anyway, after that we had France versus South Africa. Now I watched this on someone's phone at Natia Market where I had a market stall.
You skipped the other two. France and South Africa was last.
Oh, sorry, New Zealand. Sorry, you're quite right. I'm totally. There's me talking to you
Unless you
about
don't want to do them in
knowing which
order,
day
we
it
could,
is.
we could chop and change.
No. There's me talking to you about not knowing which day it is, and then there's me. Yeah, I'm similar situation. Jesus Christ. So yes, Ireland, New Zealand. That's right. That's the game we watched on a lap on a phone at Natia Market. Jeez. So I didn't get to see Aaron Smith's yellow card, but I did get to see the second half. And so, what's your position on Fozzie at the moment? Really good coach, or was he, he's been a mastermind these last 3 years, getting things lined up for this Rugby World Cup, or are we, or is he just got lucky kind of thing, and the players have taken over, and actually it's the fact that he's got some decent assistant coaches now.
I think the assistant coaches have made a difference to the whole setup. But I was never a hater, but I was never a lover. I was a hesitant bystander of rugby. I was a fence sitter because I don't want to judge. I mean, what's he done wrong? That's why I look at it. It's like, okay, he's got some bad records with the Irish series loss and the Argentinian loss, and everyone's jumping on it. Oh, he's going to be the first World Cup loss in a pool stage. He's going to be the first one to get knocked out in a group. I mean, come on, don't be silly now. But you look at his accomplishments. He's won a lot of trophies. They've done really, really well. And now you look at it and it's like, clearly he's had a plan. I just fail to see how an elite level coach like that wouldn't have a plan going to a major tournament, the only major tournament like that. It just makes you wonder what they were doing. When we watch those games, Bowden Barrett was just kicking it straight down people's throat like they're fish, and just the weird sort of stuff. Was it experimental? Were they trialing how reaction will be? I don't know. I'm not a rugby coach, so I'm still tentative. Bring home Bill, Ian, and we'll talk then. But I don't think I'll ever call him a genius mastermind. But I certainly think that the effects of Ryan and Smith have certainly changed that whole setup. The forwards, especially Ryan with those forwards, has been revolutionary. Smith, I just think, has tactically improved the way the backs sort of work with their coping with defences at them and their defensive work back the other way. So he's kind of brought them, I think, up to speed. I think the All Blacks were lacking a little bit in that regard, but overall, they're a unit, right? So I'll go. Yeah, I'm still sitting on the fence saying, good. Bring back the trophy and we'll talk again.
Yeah, Charlie says, Cornflake, when a country wins a series win in New Zealand, that's a no-go. Come on.
I mean, what series win? You bring back the World Cup. Who gives a crap about a series win? I mean, you want to win everything, right? You want to win everything. What are you going to take? Are you going to take back that two game wins in that series for a World Cup? I mean, I don't think any player will do that, or any fan generally will do that. You want on the pinnacle. I think the ability that had to actually execute a fantastic game plan against Ireland. I mean, I don't care who you are. That game was just it blew away South Africa and France for me. They were still very wasteful, and we'll talk about them later. But the way that the All Blacks played, they out Ireland, which is, I think, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's I think what one of the stats that came up was average points for visits to the 22, which was 1.5 for Ireland, 3.7 for New Zealand. One of the stats that I remember Archie and I back in the day would say what isn't necessarily a good stat is percentage possession, because if you're spending 36 phases to score, you're going to have lots of possession. If you spend 2 phases to score, then hey, you don't need lots of possession to score. And it's the score is the stat that matters, not the not how long you've got the ball for. So that clinical nature of getting the points when you're in when you're in the 22 is a big one. Not so much 2 line figures come good with Kane and defence coach McLeod. Look, yeah, I think Kane is showing why he's been put as captain and why other coaches have rated him really highly. But I think one of the the key linchpins to this side is actually the six, and it's having a six that gets you over the gain line, and that's that Frizzell is about the only player in New Zealand that's been able to do that. Now I don't know if Blackadder could, but to me that hard running six has been something that that New Zealand has missed. But also, you could see the players were now whether they're playing for the coach, whether they're playing for themselves, whether they're playing for New Zealand, who cares? But they were up. Fozzie had got them up for this game. Whether he'd got them up for this game or someone else had got them up for this game, I don't know. But players like Ivy Surveyor played some of the best games they've ever played, and with players like him, with players like Kane, kind of two natural leaders in that pack, leading from the front foot, the other players are going to go with them. So yes, really cracking sort of planning or whatever it is to say to peak at the right time, which is what they've managed to do. There's a whole bunch of talk of, oh dear, New Zealand's not played a decent game in like a month. Will they be rusty come to this one? Which has been kind of the argument at some of the Rugby World Cups at the end. Oh dear, they've not actually battle hardened. No, but if you've watched their last two games in the pool, they were clinical as hell. Right. Now, to put nearly 100 points on the team, you have to be clinical. Doesn't matter how good the team is, because you've only got so much time to play in. Yeah. And I think New Zealand showed that actually, if they can get front foot ball, they are the most clinical attacking team here. The problem they've had over the last 3-4 years is getting that against top teams, is be able to win that, get that front foot ball, get that time to attack, rather than having a forward in their face under this rush defence, and having slow ruck ball and just not having time. So that's to me is the big thing. I just ranted off in a different direction I was going to go in. I'll hand over to you for a bit.
Okay, we're discussing the game, right?
Yep.
The big thing about me that I thought about this game was, again, experience, and the All Blacks are clearly pivoting their game plan towards this point. Whereas I think a big thing, and I said this at the start of the World Cup about the mental aspect of this stage of the tournament for Ireland, and that's why I was always hesitant about picking him to go late into it or possibly even win the tournament, because they just haven't had the experience of going to these sort of positions before, coaching-wise, player-wise, staff-wise.
Sure, but player-wise, they've had experience of, say, winning a series in New Zealand. They've had experience of Lions or wins. You don't think those are key?
No, it's a one-off game. It's one-off cutthroat, 80 minutes, you're done, you're done, that's it. Boom. They got smoked. That opening game of that series in New Zealand, they got smashed. What they do? They went away, studied that, prepared, and moved on. Same team, same opposition, same prospect, same everything. They learned. So, okay, so there was a 3-match quarterfinal. Yeah, Ireland probably would be going through 2-1 sort of thing. But I just think in a one-off game, the All Blacks had that ability to go to a different place because they know. How many players? 9 or 10 players from the last World Cup against England. They know that they've got to go. Their own team was fantastic. But I don't think they really deviated throughout their whole tournament as to how they really played their game. Pretty much same sort of style, same sort of way. And it worked. I mean, no question about it. But that was a quarterfinal. And we criticised the All Blacks for this so much. Where's the plan B? Where's the other option? We always criticise the All Blacks for that. And I don't know, the game was close enough. You probably can't say that Ireland should have gone to a plan B. But throughout that, it's just that experience and that leadership of players that just they didn't really have on their side. And doubling with that, I really dislike the way Sexton plays the game. Boy, oh boy, I'm glad I don't have to watch him anymore. He's literally Beauden Barrett. He's the reason why I don't like Beauden Barrett at 10. Because watching that game, their attack's flat. Outside him does all the work. He literally passes, shuffles, and shovels. And that's all he does. He didn't even do his little wraparound. Then they scored that try against Scotland where he does a little wraparound R-key or ring rows and comes back to create the overlap. We see nothing from him in that game, which I was just really disappointed by. I kind of like a 10 who can actually take on the line and be an extra backline player, and then a guy that you kind of sit off because he just shuffles the ball along. But that's been critical of the way Ireland played. But they were fantastic, right? And the key to them is their pack and the way they play, their ferocity, their physicality. And the All Blacks matched that defensively.
Yeah, now
That's a big thing.
that's me, I think, and this sort of again reminds me a bit of the Lions tour, where the second test where Kieran Reid said, "Yeah, we wanted to reassert the New Zealand forwards. We're going to play narrow, and we're going to show the forwards can do it." In this game, again, New Zealand played a bit more direct. They only had 3 turnovers to Ireland's 11. 3. That's a crazy small number. The All Blacks didn't knock on once, or at least they didn't give up one try. So one scrum. Ireland never had to put in a scrum. Now I can't remember the last time I've seen a game with those kind of stats. That is just the forwards really, really, really stood up on in this game in a way that they haven't done. From way that pretty much no team has done for a very long time. To be able to control the breakdown that well, that you only have 3 turnovers, to be able to never or look after your ball that well that you're just not knocking on the ball. That kind of clinicality, geez, I'm not sure that's even a word, is amazing. So yeah, it is a and the and what's really good. That's my mum calling me. So how dare she? What's really good about this kind of thing is that they really get 2 weeks to prepare for South Africa. Now, they've also got the prep they had from the Rugby Championship that they can use. Whereas if you go back to the last Rugby World Cup where they arrived against England, and England spent all year aiming for that All Blacks game. And the All Blacks sort of turned up and said, "What are we going to face? Oh, let's throw in they've got a bit of a bad line out. We'll throw in a lock at 6." What? Came up and realised they were actually facing something totally different. I was so surprised. In fact, they've got 2 weeks now to prepare for South Africa, because I think this has been one of the key games.
Yep.
For this Rugby World Cup, this one. The France South Africa game. These 2 quarterfinals have been key games to who wins this Rugby World Cup. Normally, that's your semi-final. That gives you, but it's this. They've all known about this, which means they can now look at look at the next series. That's all right. Frizzell and Kane clean and kept the ball better than anyone. Sam says, "I feel the Irish series in New Zealand was the start of the World Cup build-up. The players we played out of position, etc." We've not really seen the idea of we should be Toby Va'ai playing 6, have we? That's
fine. Good.
that kind of discussion seems to have disappeared.
Although I'm pretty sure Scott Barrett went to 6 for a portion of that match when what happened. I can't remember what happened, but Frizzell went off for Whitelock. So that was a change. So I can only presume that Barrett would have gone to 6 to leave Whitelock and Retallick in that second row together near the end of the game when Whitelock come on.
Right, yep.
So they're still going with that sort of thing. But,
yep.
I mean, the way the All Blacks played that game, they were saying that impressed me again. I've not seen it from them for a long time, probably years, is the way they actually dedicated numbers to the breakdown. They've normally been quite a standoffish side with breakdowns, which is frustrating because you don't get clean ball, you don't get security of the ball. Aaron Smith gets pumped all the time, and big guys bully him with big arms and tattoos. He's a poor little fella. Getting grey hairs, man. That's how stressed out he is about it. But they really did protect the ball, like rucks, bang. And I agree with that comment about how they were really attacking Sexton's runners, but they weren't attacking them with just one guy. They were putting them down too, tactically. Wrapping up ball and leg, that's the way they were shutting off offloads. And to the point that in their second half period, where Ireland really lost their whole structure of their game, and it was massively commented while we were watching their game about how this isn't how Ireland play. What are they doing? They look clueless. They're just throwing the ball out wide and hoping that Hansen or Lowe can do something, or Archie can do something spectacular. And then we saw players like Andrew Porter, such a good, strong, upper body character that can stand in tackles and offload. Tide Burren, guys like that, Omani, that normally carry and offload and recycle so well, weren't. Like even a phase where Andrew Porter got tackled round the legs, stood there with the ball, looked around, had his options, and just fell over himself. And to me, I was like, that tells me a massive, massive story about where their game plan is and how they're actually mentally dealing with this situation, that their first thoughts are not to play that style, it's to just stop and recycle. And the other massive turning point in that game too, which we haven't mentioned yet, is the fact inside that first 10 minutes when they went to the corner, Ireland, looking for a try, not taking the three. That, to me, you've pinpointed that game turning point right there. And I think that was a huge moment. So early and minimalistic, really. But again,
well, no, because they tried the same thing against South Africa, and it didn't work, and they got away with it in the end.
Yeah, but they didn't get away with this time.
Didn't get away with this time. No, you've not learned from your South Africa one that actually you take your points when they're on offer.
And then the All Blacks straight away, other side, not even with a slight hesitation, instantly to the sticks. Instantly. And I just thought straight away, I was like, mentality-wise, one team is locked in, the other team is still trying to play some, let's try and get a fast one. Just trying to be the Ireland of old of getting up.
I think that Ireland were playing their game plan, which is to go to the corner every time. It wasn't going to work. And so it didn't work against South Africa either. And they should have learned from that. Not right. The Geordie forearm was enough to keep them out, but really, look, all of these games were close, folks. Let's not be. It only took all these games. It only would take a moment for it to have changed the other way around for that. And also only 3 offloads by the All Blacks. Again, they decided they weren't going to risk the ball.
And what the All Blacks did too when they went to ground, I noticed really stood out to me in that game was their placement. Man, it was good. As in they go to ground and the stretch out placement was like so deep that it was so difficult for any of the Irish cleaners to even. They couldn't get close to the ball. They'll get close to the tackled body, but they couldn't reach the ball far enough because their placement was so far out. And it was I've never seen it quite that particular to be placing so far. And you get guys, you get Locks doing it, and of course they got arms, as long as a house, and it's straight out. And for Aaron Smith, bang, ball right there. Doesn't need massive cleaning out and shifting of bodies because the ball placement is there. Your ruck's over the top of the body. It's right there. It was very, 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 very well established. And I know South Africa did a little bit, but the All Blacks, boy, they were very good at it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that those sort of details show you, okay, these are the clear things we must practice this game, and it's very clear in all their heads. One of the things that someone mentioned when talking about Schmidt as the Ireland head coach was one of his strengths is he's very good at telling players, you do this and you will win. Now, they go out, they do it, and they win, and they trust him. So if you end up with that kind of thing where, actually, look, he's said, these are the 3 things we have to concentrate on today. I remember doing a day in life one where day in life week in life rugby player article that I wrote years ago now. Jeez, I've been doing this for too long. And one of the things the guy said was he has a book that is a little book that he has there pre-game, and he has his 3 things he's got to concentrate on that game. And by the sounds of it, one of those for the forwards in particular was ball placement at the ruck when he tackled, or for certain players. But the fact that Schmidt's mails have gone bang. I'm guessing it's Schmidt here just purely because of what kind of rumours and stuff I've heard. Someone has gone. These are the 3 things that you guys have got to look at, and one of them has been that. We've got to move on to running out of time. We're only halfway through. Sam, are Argentina a threat? Yes, they are, but not as much of a threat as Ireland, let's be honest. Do we rest players for the semi? Hell no. Hell no. There are 2 more games that matter this year. You don't rest players at this stage. Jeez.
No way. Not unless their leg is in 2 pieces or an arm is in 2 pieces, even then.
No resting players. Absolutely not. No kind of going, you know what? We'll put Whitelock in and Barrett out to give them rest. No. You play your best team and you go and win the game. That's all that matters at this stage.
Yeah, we'll put Ben Smith on the wing. We'll put Christian Cullen in the centre, and Liam McDonald can play first 5. Yeah, like that hasn't failed before.
Dearie me.
So
England versus Fiji. Now, is this one where we go rinse and repeat and say we'll talk about the game in the same way as we talked about Argentina versus Wales and England or Argentina and Fiji or Wales? In the fact
Fiji,
that look
Wales,
again,
yes.
it's goal kicking by Owen Farrell that win the game. Now, look, I've seen a whole bunch of comments in our live chat and stuff about refereeing, yada yada yada. At the end of the day, we can either actually enjoy the rugby or we can just moan about refs for the next or for show after show. And I'm just not prepared to do that. Yes, fine. Should Owen Farrell have been yellow carded? Maybe, because they say, was it the same thing as Aaron Smith? Look, I don't know. They gave the reason at the time as to why. Which there wasn't apparently the player outside was too flat, or even in front of the player, so couldn't take a pass. Whatever.
No.
Is that really where this game was decided? I don't think
it was decided by that because it was right at the end of the match, right? I think the Farrell one was minutes remaining. They're behind by 6. If you want to be really pedantic about the ref, I thought the Tom Curry tackle was worse. The no arms grass cutter took him out of the knees, flipped the guy over, landed on his head. It was just a penalty. I hate those tackles. Absolutely hate those. He pretty much just boxed himself down on the floor, and a guy running at full steam flips over, lands on his head. I mean, we want to knock out the head stuff. How's that different to a tip tackle? That's all I kind of have with that. The guy still lands on his head, and it's tackle.
No, a tip tackle that's a grass cutter, different to a tip tackle where you lift someone up and actually pile drive them.
Also, with tip tackle, you're being helped generally these days. Anyway, they try and not just dump you straight on your head as well. But anyway, I hate those tackles. I find them horrible.
Yeah, no,
knees don't go that way, right?
I'd be happy to see that as a yellow. I
thought that was worse. The problem with the Farrell one for me, it's not the intentional knock-on ruling. It's the fact that Aaron Smith got a yellow, which whatever, that's fine. It's not because he's New Zealand, whatever. He got a yellow. Okay, that's your benchmark, right? Farrell got a penalty. Very similar thing. I mean, the whole player thing, I don't buy that whatsoever. And then next game, even if Sabeth done it even worse than the other two, his was a shocker. There was no chance he was getting even his big mitts near at all, and it was nothing. And you just kind of watch the three, and the frustrating thing is it's like 3 instances, pretty similar. Smith was probably the worst, got the least punishment. So I don't care what the ruling is. It's just consistency. And when you see something like that, we should be able to, as viewers, watch it and go, that's a penalty, that's a yellow card, don't worry about it, it's fine. No, I don't care what way it is with the intentional knock-on, because it's one of those things that's dumb. It's bad, but it's not bad. It's silly, but let's get a ruling, and consistently referee that ruling. The other thing I hate about the referees ruling on that is with that player thing, they're ruling on a hypothetical future instance that hasn't happened. How can you do that? Let's rule on what's happened, okay? The player has intentionally knocked the ball on from a pass, going this way, whatever, to this player, blah, blah, blah. What happens after that, or potentially happens after that, is completely irrelevant. Unless it's a 2-on-1 overlap and the guy is certainly going to score provided he catches it. That I can kind of understand. But that Owen Farrell one, it's like the player was too far. No. You can't hypothetically sort of pick that. So I don't like that either. But it's the consistency. If Smith is a yellow card, that's cool. I've no problem with it. But let's make it all a ground cover ruling, right? That's my problem.
Yep. And look, this one was I think it was a scoreboard pressure one for most of the game. Is that England got themselves out into a lead. Fiji were chasing it. Now, just before they come back into this game, the Fijian players start to lose it when they drag Curry away from a ruck. He gets up and there's pushing and shoving and hands in faces. Now, were they deliberately things in faces? Look at. I'm not going to say that. Again, I don't think anything there warranted a card or anything more than what was there. But actually, what happened in a good way for Fiji at that point, I think, is the referee called them in and calmed things down, because Fiji were losing their head at that point. In my opinion, And I think England would be more than happy to have said, "Yeah, play on quick. Let's wind them up a bit more, please," because yes, once Fiji of old would have been totally off the totally off at that point, and we'd have ended up with sort of high shots and fists, and they would have crumbled at that point, but they didn't. They calmed down. They took a breath, and I was impressed actually that they got themselves back. That they managed to sort of get themselves back into their game plan, and score 2 tries from memory. Yeah, score 2 tries to even up the game, because I thought at that point England were going to run away with it, because I just couldn't see Fiji actually being able to execute their game plan at that point. I thought that the red mist would descend.
I found the substitutes made quite a big impact as well, especially the forward substitutes, because the Fijians were very static in their ball carries. When they did get the ball, they kind of would receive the ball flat-footed, and they just didn't get that momentum. They were losing 20 meters over 6 phases, and they just didn't seem to have that. Yep, they're little fisticuffs. They got a little bit of anger out of their system. Reserves come in with fresh thoughts and orders from the coaching staff. Obviously, the traffic lights were probably going somewhere. Rusty would have been in the stands, who knows? But it gave them a little bit more forward momentum, and they started getting over that gain line. And then, a couple of phases where you're going forward, a little bit of confidence comes in. You get half a wee line break. You start to get them on the back foot. It changes so quickly, and you just can't write teams off. I found over these quarterfinals, especially, fans are writing their team off very early. It's crazy. Irish fans, South African fans, French fans, especially. When a game is so close, less than 7, man, they have been going, we're done. We're off. We're done. We can't win this now. And so, dude, there's 25 minutes to go. There's 20 minutes to go. And they throw in the towel, which is amazing. So the Fijians to stick at that just shows, 2 tries so quickly. England went under pressure. Hey, Farrell played well, all right? I don't think he was man of the match. I found that quite horrific. But that drop goal, timely. Fiji weren't prepared for that whatsoever, were they? They were like watching, what's he doing? Oh, crap, that's going, and they're like, oh, dear. But for me, Ben Earl, fantastic. Absolutely amazing player. Number of guys. But, Fiji show that if they could play 80 minutes, they would have won that game by 30 points. But they only played 20 minutes. They look fantastic when they do it. And hopefully they get some more fresh blood to that team, because there's a lot of talk about guys like Raja, Botia, Naisalevu, all those sort of big names in their team having their last World Cup tournament this year. So be a shame, but we can look for some fresh blood for the Fijians in the future with a bit of confidence about the history that their team's done over recent times.
And also confidence about the fact that with the Fijian Drua, or the Undra, there's actually a pathway now for us to bring some of those players through, which there hasn't been in the past. It's been through some dubious French academy system, which you kind of like, how the hell does that happen? So look, there's actually a pathway now for Fiji to build a team towards the next Rugby World Cup, which is good. Will they get the games? Well, look, let's hope we can. The Rugby Championship expands and includes Japan and Fiji. That would be good. But yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, because I'll probably be dead by the time it actually gets announced. So look, that's what we need from this Rugby World Cup is to give that pathway for Japan and Fiji. And you can say, look, that leaves Samoa and Tonga out in the cold. Well, let's have some promotion relegation way then, that they can come and have a go. But that kind of Fiji need a proper 3-test series against a tier 1 side. Oh, geez, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, but if you're going to send because let's be honest here, the top 3 teams are going to go to South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Argentina then gets a 2-test series, so you're looking at basically either Italy or Scotland or Wales, depending which one's at the bottom that year, going out. And if they go to Fiji, they're going to go and stop off at Tonga and Samoa. Why would you not? I mean, you can't leave the other 2 islands out of it. So I don't see how you can give Fiji a 3-tier tour, a 3-test tour against against a tier 1 team. No, it doesn't. It's just not it's not practical, unfortunately, with the numbers of teams there are. You can do potentially on a Lions year where you get a weakened tier 1 team from an England or an Ireland, is a possibility. But yeah, that requires imaginative thinking, which we just don't get from World Rugby, do we?
Oh.
So,
Bring back Augustine Pichot. Bring back Mr. Pichot.
oh, if only he had won that bloody election. Anyway, I've got no idea where I was going with next for this one, but yeah, look, England did it again. Do I see the same green shoots or lights at the end of the tunnel that I see with or kind of some semi-clarity with Wales that I do with England? No, not to the same extent. You're going to have your players like your Farrells and Fords retiring at the end of this, and your Courtney Laws, as you say about experience here. There's a lot of experience leaving this England team after this Rugby World Cup. Sure, your Dan Biggar is leaving Wales, but you can see who's replacing him, and you can say, "Oh, Paul," but we know Marcus Smith is replacing Owen Farrell. England don't do very well with a scrum with a fly half like that, do they? Let's be honest. Stuart Barnes, yeah, no, we didn't like him either. Danny Cipriani, yeah, no. We don't like these guys who have kind of mercurial thoughts and do things. No, kick that damn ball.
He had a torrid time too, didn't he, Marcus Smith? Boy, oh boy, he got absolutely smoked. He had blood. I mean, I think he went through 3 jerseys by the end of that game.
Yeah.
He was that coward. I mean, he was the Red Rose of England, and he was crying. It was. I kind of felt sorry for him in the end. He was really, out of anyone, like commitment-wise, he was right up there for a little guy. He was tasting some big Fijian bodies, man, and they were having no remorse on him. But credit to him, he stuck at it, right? Bloody
absolutely. Should he be allowed to stick at it with that many bumps to the head and blood everywhere? No, probably not. But hey, who cares about players' safety? I mean, geez. Marks is a 15. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. Look, he plays 10 for Harlequins, and I think that's where we'll see. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I don't think there's a clarity there with Borthwick and with England that there is with Wales. But hey, I'm just enjoying the fact we got this far. Hey, we've got 2 more games. We've got 2 more games. We're going to lose one of them at least, probably both. But hey, well, I know England Wales could go either way. Let's be blunt here, all right? Sorry, England Argentina could go either way.
Yeah. Again.
Sorry.
Well, they've already played. Remember?
Again, yes, that's true. You see, England is so much better than Argentina. They thrashed them the first time round.
Yeah, but they won't play George Ford twice. I can guarantee you that.
No.
Maybe they will in that bronze final. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll rest Farrell because he'll probably be suspended by that stage, to be fair, even.
Please. I mean, let's be honest. That, in some ways, that's England are at this stage because he got suspended in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah, you could argue actually, yeah, his suspension has actually helped England, and him coming back has hurt them. But anyway, let's not go down that one.
No. Another week.
France versus Argentina then. Boy, oh boy, 1 point in this one.
South Africa.
And, sorry?
South Africa, not Argentina. That's all right.
France, South Africa. Sorry, both begin with A. Well, they kind of do. Anyway, at some point in the alphabet, in the name.
Dude, I've been up since 3:30. Come on, that's my excuse to be tired.
I was doing the election this weekend, and I'm running a voting place and doing that count that you all heard about late on Saturday. That was. Nope. No, you didn't. You didn't bother. Okay.
I mean, if anything, I'd be interested in election stuff. Is like it's underneath just conversations about dirt.
Anyway, I'm not major politics either, but hey. I do understand that you do at some points have to acknowledge that, that there's this thing called a parliament and shit. Anyway,
South Africa and France. Anyway,
yes, and I got paid to win the election, which is more important. South Africa versus France then. Wow, 43 tackles missed by South Africa. Now, John keeps telling us in the live chat that actually this is part of the game plan for South Africa is to miss tackles and then, but just to disrupt the play. And to a certain degree, yes, but that's a hell of a lot of tackles to miss at the end of the day. But what happened to the French scrum? That fell to pieces.
Got demolished. Oxenshade come in and just pummeled them to pieces. There was a gameplay. South Africa's smart. Let's not beat around the bush about this. They are a step ahead of everyone else when it comes to tactics, game plans, HIA substitutions. I tell you what, they were on fire with HIA substitutions in this game. I think we had Vermeulen went off, HIA, come back on for Peter Steph du Toit to go off for an HIA, who come back on for Quagga Smith to go on for an HIA, who come back on for Peter Steph du Toit to go back off. There was about a 4-player rotation over about 20-25 minutes of HIA sub. So it was very, very talented. I love what they're doing there, South Africa. But yeah, they've got a plan.
Well, okay. No, I respect what they're doing. I don't necessarily love what they're doing, but I respect what they're doing.
They're innovative, right? That's what I mean.
Oh, yeah, true.
It's like,
look, there's nothing wrong.
I'm taking the crap out of them, 100%.
Right, there's nothing wrong, okay, with a 7-1 bench, right? But the only thing it does show you is we have about 3 players extra on the bench than we need. Clearly, if you can only have one back, we can definitely get rid of a couple of that. The bench does not need to be 7 players. It only needs to be about 5. Let's get rid of a few substitutions, in my opinion. But there you go.
But yeah, this game, what I found from this game, the pack are very, very good. But as we're looking at this as South Africa as, public enemy, possibly finalist number 1, right?
Definitely, they're definitely going to be finalists.
How do you target that scrum half area, I think, of an area of strength become a very distinguished area of weakness when Kobus Reinach went off midway through that second half and Faf de Klerk come on and it turned to an absolute shambles for about 20 minutes. Disjointed, they lost all the structure. Things changed big time with Faf in there, which was, I found very interesting because I thought they would pick up the pace, but they lost a lot of impact in that. But the Springboks are good. They've got that structure, right? They've got that game plan. Libok just makes that team purr in a back line. Don't talk about his kicking, but I bet you Cheslin Colby and Curtly Odinson, they're happy until Andre Pollard starts warming up, and then they just go and find a pillow and crouch up somewhere and go to sleep. But it's a game plan, right? Get ahead, strike. And that game was fun. Tries after 4 minutes, a try back, 7-7s, 5-5, the charge down kick. I mean, let's talk about distinctive moments of the game. That charge down kick, again, it's just like Sexton going to the corner. Cheslin Colby scooting out there and charging down that Thomas Ramos conversion was very, 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 very pivotal. So a lot of points in that match. But I don't think this was as clean as a game as the All Blacks versus Ireland. That was very much an arm wrestle. This was pretty much score as many points as you can, as quickly as you can in 60 minutes, then shut up shop and hope that you got the lead.
And then shut up shop. Oh dear. Yes, even and Cheslin Colby then also trying to drop goal at the end as well. A player of all skills. Actually, he missed a drop goal, so not all skills. But there you go. It's funny, isn't it, that South Africa probably have for a team that has the biggest forwards, they also have the smallest wingers in this as well.
Name a big South African winger of history, like a Savia, Julian Savia, sort of, big, a winger that's there more for their power and pace than just their pace. I guess Mapimpi maybe fall in that category, but if you look traditionally, the all-star wingers and Habanas and guys like that are just fast. They just love pace. Guys that can just absolutely scorch it. But yeah, so it kind of goes with their history, right? And again, Kanamuri waiting the wings, another small guy. Yeah, Mapimpi, probably be the king, though. The injury king. He's gone now.
You do have Van der Merwe, springs to mind, as a...
That was successful, wasn't it? And blue. And all that does is further my points. He was too big, they didn't want him. He's like, nah, you can't be a winger in South Africa, mate. You're way too big.
Oh, dear. So, yeah. No, look, I mean, France, 6% possession, 63% territory. Pressing South Africa defence won the game. Absolutely, yeah. This was about defence. And even with those missed tries, it was missed tackles, not missed tries. It was But at the end of the day, as you say, we're talking about a 1 point game here, and you've got a charge down conversion. This really is a thing of moments. This game and the closest game from the weekend. But as I already mentioned, 3 of these games were 1-score games and could have flipped very, very easily. Well done, South Africa. But boy, oh boy, I'm not sure they played that much rugby in this one. France ran it for more, but France 156 passes, 154 runs. South Africa 82 passes, 80 runs. About half as many passes and half as many runs from South Africa as France. Playing rugby isn't always necessarily a good thing.
The big thing I took that from that first half especially is a couple of high balls down to Ramos and his buddies of Pinot and Bali really worked well for them in that first half. They messed up a lot. Their Odense try was from their high ball, but man, they were messy. They were finding ground.
A high ball hit someone on the back as it came down. You're like, guy,
try.
You're in. Yeah, you're in. How do you do that? I mean, that was they totally France could not handle high ball, which is just amazing. That was some of those kicks you're looking at going, geez, he's kicking that cross field very flat, practically going. I mean, that's hardly going forwards at all. And you're like, geez, that's a real speculative kind of. That's an old school Gary Owen kind of into the 22 style. Let's just thump it up and sit a crowd of players underneath, a bit of a Hail Mary across field. Bloody hell, that's a weird tactic. But clearly, South Africa spotted that the French wingers just couldn't cope with high balls, and
and they adapted well too. Like the South Africans, after those first 2, they competed, but you did notice pretty much after that try that Odense scored, they would actually run in and would pretty much circle the man jumping. You have 3 or 4 guys, one past the guy, and one kind of just parallel to him and one in front of him kind of thing, just to cover bases because they knew there was a good chance that he was going to mess it up. He was going to hit his shoulder, hit his back, or he was going to spill it or completely miss it, and then the bounce could go anywhere. They were preparing for the possibilities that this ball was just
but also what one of the tactics that France clearly had is, I'm not going to try and kick it, try and catch it. I'm going to try and knock it back to one of my players.
Mm-hmm.
And because South Africa spotted that, they had a player there to pick it up. Now, it's a bit like Millwall, old school days of football where they'd have play long ball. They'd kick the ball long, and they wouldn't bother trying to head it themselves. They would contest the header, but what they really were doing was trying to just disrupt the defender heading it, and then pick up the ball after he'd done that. And that's to a certain degree, that's what you had to hear from South Africa. Yeah, let's put it up. We know he's not actually very good at claiming it, so he's going to try something else to get himself out of trouble here, and we're going to pick that up, and off we go. Wow. I mean, for a player that I think Ramos, kind of one of the key players and one of the sort of players of the tournament, kind of things for France, to be kind of sort of targeted like this is shocking. But yeah, I mean, well done for spotting it, and well done for great in the execution as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Ramos is normally at the safest houses under those high balls, right? It's a part and parcel of his game. It's why he's their starting fullback. It's why he's in that position. He diffuses that stuff so well. They cleaned it up well in the second half. I think South Africa come out and tried to just carry on. It didn't work so much. They kind of tied it up and went back to plan A sort of thing. But so much damage had been done, right? The French were really on fire early. At scoring tries, just couldn't quite finish themselves back defensively to back up their scores without conceding again themselves, which made that to and fro scoreline where it would be up 7, tied up, up 7, tied up. But I'll tell you, exciting, man. Good God, it was exciting. Incredible rugby, high pace, exciting. Very few, really slowed down periods of that first half, especially. That 40 minutes went by in about 6 minutes. It felt like it was so fast and electric. It was fun to watch. There was points being scored. There was massive moments of the game, and from a viewer perspective, by far the most absorbing game for a viewer to watch. Tuning into the World Cup, not knowing rugby, or just seeing the game, that caught eyes, that game for sure, and it really got people excited.
And it was the highest scoring game, 57.
29-28, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the highest scoring game as well. Yeah. of the Rugby World Cup. So yes, so now we have only six penalties each. So again, another point of it, the whistle was put away, and hence a fun game to watch.
Speaking of whistle, before we move on about the whistles, it's not a criticism of the rule, but how many referees we got left now that we've lost the South African guy that injured his calf in the Argentina game, Wales game. Jaco Piper. Yes. Yep. he ripped himself up, hobbled his way off, substitute referee. Didn't make too much of an impact, thankfully, but more injuries for referees than players almost in the quarterfinals.
After that is where Wales lost the game. Now,
which is good.
Whether that's deliberate or whether that's because of the referee change or not is a different matter. But honestly, it was at least coincidental.
I pinpointed that at the time, watching that game. It's like a different start. You know, you kind of warm into a game. What was it, 20 minutes or so into the game? It was fairly early, and you look at it and go, now everyone has to readjust and start again with the way that things are officiated. You know, everyone does it differently. How's this going to affect the game? Penalties, 2 or 3 penalties, 9 points is a lot when you're already, a third of the way through the match. But I don't think it was too bad. He kind of come in and blended in well enough. It can't be too critical. No more critical referees. Come on.
No, not be criticism at all. But what we mean the referee changed when Wales were 10-0 up.
True. Yeah. I didn't think about it that way. The Argentina will probably want to get him for that semi if they can.
No, forget the semi. Get him for the third, fourth playoff. No, they're not going to win the semi. So go for the game you're actually going to win, or you're in for. Oh dear. But there we go. So there you go, folks. Cracking set of quarterfinals, the best set of quarterfinals, or the closest set of quarterfinals, at least, if not the best set of quarterfinals we've ever had at Rugby World Cup. Next weekend, it's not going to be quite the same, but we will not have the closest quarter. I don't think we'll be having the closest semi-finals we've ever had. But I'll keep an eye on that, and we'll talk about that next week. So, thank you very much for joining me, Steve. Again, we came into the Rugby World Cup thinking, hey, you know what? We might have a new winner, but we're not going to. We're clearly going to have either South Africa or New Zealand, who have both won it lots of times before. We're not going to have a France or an Ireland for the first time ever.
Argentina.
Come on, Argentina. Yes, the Pumas, the only team left that haven't won the Rugby World Cup in the semi-finals. Maybe. Hey, just maybe, remember, it ain't going to happen. There's no chance. No chance.
A parting comment, just remember that the shift of rugby is moving to the Northern Hemisphere. Crock of that.
Well, we will see. So thank you, everybody, and stay safe, and catch you next Monday.